Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. The mountain man pushed his way through thick stands of devil's club and fruit canes, trying not to lose the crimson blood splatters to the falling rain. Peering into a dark ravine, the hunter stares past the tangled underbrush and massive rootballs of upturned trees. Only minutes before, he had struck the bear with a bullet from his hunting rifle, and now the experienced woodsman knew the game could easily be flipped. Slowing his pace, he carefully placed each foot and gently pushed each branch from his face. The crimson trail caught a ray of sunshine breaking through the forest canopy, and he could see it go on for 20 yards ahead of him. The bear couldn't be closer than the end of that blood trail, but where exactly did it end? As he rolled his weight forward onto his right foot, a loud pop echoed through the trees. Behind and to his right, the hunter spun to face the wounded bear, finger on the trigger and terror in his eyes. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. On Admiralty Island, a massive landmass in the Alexander Archipelago of southeast Alaska, brown bears are the undisputed rulers. Known to the indigenous Tlingit people as Koots-Nuwu, or the Fortress of the Bear, the island is a rugged wilderness characterized by steep glaciated mountains and a jagged coastline of deep bays and inlets. The terrain is dominated by a primary old-growth temperate rainforest, where the soil is a perpetually damp sponge of decaying organic matter. In 1912, the island was even more remote than it is today, serving as a pristine habitat for one of the densest populations of brown bears on Earth. The topography near Mole Harbor is where 36-year-old Alan Hasselborg established his homestead. The land surrounding his homestead featured low-lying marshes and river estuaries that transitioned sharply into heavily timbered ridges. This environment is both beautiful and treacherous, offering limited visibility and nearly impenetrable thickets of brush. The climate of Admiralty Island is classified as maritime, defined by mild but cool temperatures and staggering amounts of precipitation. Annual rainfall often exceeds 100 inches, ensuring the landscape remains a lush, emerald world. During the autumn months, when this encounter took place, the island was frequently hammered by gale-force winds and relentless driving rain. Three prominent trees that define this forest are the western hemlock, the Sitka spruce, and the western red cedar, which grow to massive proportions in the nutrient-rich soil. The understory is a battlefield of vegetation, featuring the formidable, spine-covered devil's club, the resilient Sitka alder, and various species of willow. Foragers and bears alike depend on the island's bounty of berries, including the translucent salmonberry, the sweet oval-leaf blueberry, and the tart red-berried elder. Common animals that share this fortress include the Sitka, black-tailed deer, the river otter, and the red fox. Alan Hasselborg had arrived in Alaska in 1901. A native of the Midwest, he was a rugged loner who excelled as a prospector, fisherman, trapper, and boat builder. His primary occupation during this period was as a specimen collector and guide for scientific expeditions, including the famous Alexander expeditions. Hasselborg was a man of intense discipline and physical strength, often rowing his handcrafted 13-foot boat on round trips of 140 miles to Juneau for supplies. On the day of the attack in 1912, he was hunting and was armed with his trusted .45-70 lever-action rifle. We know he didn't have bear spray, so he was defenseless, other than his firearm. He was not accompanied by a dog, as he preferred the silence of solo travel. The background of the attack involves a deliberate hunt that took a dangerous turn. Hasselborg had encountered a large male brown bear and fired a shot, wounding the animal but failing to drop it immediately. In the early 20th century, the ethics of the hunt and the necessity of collecting specimens meant that a wounded animal had to be pursued. Hasselborg tracked the bear into a dense thicket, a tactical disadvantage that the bear exploited. The bear had circled back on its own trail, a common tactic for wounded grizzlies, and ambushed Hasselborg from a distance of only a few yards. The bear swiped at Hasselborg with such force that it knocked the rifle from his hands and sent him sprawling into the brush. The bear then set upon him, biting into his legs and torso. Hasselborg, displaying the nerves of steel that made him a legend, attempted to protect his vital organs while seeking any opportunity to regain his weapon or fight back. The damage inflicted on his body was severe. The bear's teeth tore through muscle and skin, and the sheer weight of the animal caused internal trauma. However, during the struggle, Hasselborg managed to reach his hunting knife. As the bear pinned him to the ground, he stabbed and slashed the massive bear numerous times, and fending off further unjust to himself. Some accounts suggest the bear succumbed to its previous wound, while others state that Hasselborg's handiwork with his hunting knife did the big bear in. The summary of the results for both the bear and the man is a testament to the brutality of the wilderness. The bear died from the wounds sustained during the hunt and the subsequent struggle. Reports on the bear indicated it was an adult male in its prime, weighing several hundred pounds, and in good health prior to being shot. Hasselborg, however, was left in a desperate state. He was not treated medically in a hospital, as none were accessible. Instead, he was forced to perform rudimentary first aid on himself in the middle of the Alaskan rainforest. He spent days recovering in his cabin, dealing with the risk of infection and the physical limitation of his mauled limbs. The encounter left him with a permanent limp and physical scars that he would carry for the remaining 44 years of his life. In the decades following the 1912 mauling, Alan Hasselborg underwent a profound transformation, evolving from a professional specimen hunter into a self-appointed guardian of the brown bears on Admiralty Island. Despite the physical toll of the attack, which left him with a permanent limp and limited mobility in one arm, he continued to live in total isolation at his homestead in Mole Harbor. His shift toward conservation was not fueled by sentimentality, but by a deep observation-based respect for the bears he once tracked. He became one of the first people to recognize that the bear population was not an inexhaustible resource, but a unique biological treasure that was being threatened by increased trophy hunting and logging interests. Hasselborg's life at Mole Harbor was a master class in solitary survival. He spent his days rowing his hand-built boat through the treacherous waters of the Stevens Passage and tending to a massive garden that provided most of his sustenance. His reputation as the bear man of Admiralty grew as he began to actively discourage hunters from entering the valley near his home. He was known to meet arriving boats at the shoreline, often appearing as a grisly-looking figure with a rifle slung over his shoulder, making it clear that the bears in his immediate vicinity were under his protection. This was a significant departure from his earlier years, when he had personally provided many of the bear skulls and hides currently housed in the Smithsonian Institution and the University of California's Museum of Vertebrate Zoology. During the 1920s and 1930s, Hasselborg became an invaluable resource for scientists and early conservationists who visited the island. He provided detailed observations on bear behavior, diet, and denning habits that were decades ahead of formal wildlife biology. His intimate knowledge of the bear's social structures helped convince influential figures, such as Stewart Edward White, to lobby for the protection of Admiralty Island. Hasselborg argued that the bears were highly intelligent and social creatures that only became monsters when provoked or wounded by unskilled hunters. Even as his body aged, Hasselborg's commitment to the bears remained absolute. He lived without electricity, running water, or neighbors, finding companionship in the very animals that had nearly killed him. In his later years, he often sat near the salmon streams, watching the bears fish without the need to raise a rifle. This peaceful coexistence was the ultimate result of his 1912 ordeal. He had learned the limits of human dominance in the wild. In 1954, at the age of 78, Hasselborg finally left Admiralty Island as his health failed, moving to the pioneer's home in Sitka. He passed away 2 years later in 1956 at the age of 79, just 2 days shy of his 80th birthday. His legacy is found in the continued existence of the dense bear populations on Admiralty Island, which remains one of the few places on Earth where humans and giant brown bears share a landscape in such proximity. Hasselborg's attack was a clear case of an intelligent bear ambushing a hunter after being wounded, a situation where the bear's natural aggression was amplified by pain and the instinct for self-preservation. No animal carcass was found nearby that the bear was guarding. The conflict was purely a result of the hunt. No cubs were reported at or near the attack site. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to our episodes, photos, and notes. And the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. Admiralty Island covers approximately 1,646 square miles and is home to an estimated 1,600 brown bears. This creates a density of nearly 1 bear per square mile, the highest in North America. Across the state of Alaska, which encompasses over 663,000 square miles, the bear population is estimated at 30,000. While bear attacks in Alaska are more common than in the lower 48 states, fatal attacks on Admiralty Island are historically rare, with only 1 recorded fatality on the island since written records began, involving a victim who had also shot the bear first. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I am left with a few questions for you. First, would a more modern, high-velocity firearm have prevented the mauling by dropping the bear instantly with the first shot? Second, if Hasselborg had followed the modern protocol of waiting an hour before tracking a wounded bear, would the animal have died, preventing the ambush? Third, do you see a similarity between Hasselborg's life and Timothy Treadwell's? I find it interesting that both men claim to be the defenders of the bears. The life of Alan Hasselborg remains a cornerstone of Alaskan lore, a story of a man who lived by the rifle and eventually found a deep, albeit complicated, respect for the animals that nearly took his life. I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.